Well, hey there, YouTube. It's Petey, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening to you. Welcome back to another fun-filled, exciting episode of Mailbag. Mailbag, what's in the mailbag today for Petey? Let's jump right in. We've got a sender's name, Akmal Ashraf. Cool name. Cable Stop Ltd, Holker Business Center, Burnley Road, Colne, Lancashire, United Kingdom. And we have, this is from Cable Stop. You heard of GameStop? This is Cable Stop. Very cool stuff. And these are 5-pin DIN MIDI, or do you say MIDI? MIDI jacks. I've never ordered any of these. They don't come with fasteners, which is disappointing. I will use my soldering iron to burn through the plastic and the chassis and just run some 3mm pickguard screws to fasten these. So these have 5 connectors. I don't know if you can see that. Like doot, 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 doot. And then there's also 5 corresponding solder points and a 6th ground, although I only need 4. So we're going to talk about this is our drummer. Now this USB cable goes to a SD card, thumb drive, so then we can just unplug this. Let's say we need our one of the songs, the drum tracks on here is too loud, so my wife will pull it out of there and hand it to me, and I'll stick it in the front of the computer, edit the piece, and then hand it back to her, and she'll pop it back in here. That's how we were doing it. Now we did have a card reader that was kind of glued to the side of this, and so you would just pop it in. And there is these TIFF cards you can use, the real small ones, but they're kind of fiddly. So the buttons here, I don't like the tactile. The buttons, I could never remember which one was which. There's a mode button, which is useless to me. Fast forward we use, play and pause we use, and rewind we use. So I soldered 6 wires onto the 3 switches. Each switch has 2 wires, and they would go down to these switches. So this is rewind, this is fast forward, and this is play pause. And then I cloned those wires down to these jacks, and we would plug in 2 cables that would go into this foot switch that would have 3 big guitar pedals, click-clacks, or they're not click-clack. They're like smooth switches. So I can have this foot switch, which is it's a baking tin. It's a little bread tin that I made a wood base for that's cut inside of the unit. So it's just like a little tin. It's painted white. There's 3 switches on it, fast forward, rewind, and play pause, and that sits down by my feet, and then I can hit play on song 1, and what comes on is usually I'll have a 4 count or an 8 count, click, 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 and then we know we come in and start playing, and that's how this is our drummer. Now the output of these things, these are $2 MP3 boards, and the ones with the B have Bluetooth, and I do not like them. For one, the remotes don't work, so you can't access the EQ, which I like using EQ. Oh, hey, we're blinking. I'm going to shut my professional YouTuber light off. These buttons here, the remote. I do like using the EQ, but on the Bluetooth unit, for one, they don't pass MP3 data through the USB port. So there goes my using the nice larger card, or like I found out they sell these thumb drives, which are just like, if you could picture that, it's like that, but the black part is half as high or less. So it's a slimline little pluggy guy that you plug into the USB, which is perfect. That's about the right size. I'm not worrying about dropping it so much. Like the TF card is tiny. It's like a little wafer. It's so small. So I've got those coming, and we're going to upgrade to those. But I ordered from this one company, and I tried the Bluetooth ones because it's hard to get the ones without the B, and sure enough, there's background, there's ding, 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 there's noise in the background, and then there's, they don't pass MP3 data through the USB port, the remotes don't work, and then they were behaving erratically. So I had 10 of those, 2 from one seller and 8 from another I had to do a claim on. I made some documents that showed everything that was wrong and showed how they were different. Because see, the auction where I bought 8, they didn't have the B on there, and the boards were green, the Bluetooth boards are blue, and the power connector's in a different spot. So it's like they shipped me something I didn't order. So I plated my case, and the company AliExpress was like, you only showed us one of the unit, so we're only going to refund you one. So I had to make a video showing all 8 of them, which if you haven't seen that AliExpress video, you should watch it. It's hilarious. So yeah, this is the old one. Basically, our multi-effects that run into the mixer. I have a guitar multi-effector and my wife has a bass multi-effector, and they both have a healthy output. These music speaker MP3 players are weak. They're real quiet. So you've got to crank the gain on the board, which I don't like. So the EQ is difficult to access unless you have this stupid remote and you're trying to press this button. Sometimes the buttons, like the EQ button will not turn the EQ on. It'll be like you have to hit the like the mode button. Like the remote doesn't match up with the thing, but you can get it to work by pressing 2 buttons. You know, like doing this, like forget that. So I cut in a separate circuit which boosts the treble and bass and brings the level up, and then a preamp so I can adjust the output volume. And this preamp gives it a lot, so I can keep it at noon, and it's right in there at the same level as our guitar and bass multi-effectors. Now, this I really like this because if I want a little more sparkle on it, I can hit that switch. If I need to turn it up or down, I don't have to mess with the mixer. I can leave the board where it is and just tweak in here as needed. So this was like perfect, and then I built it, and you know, we added on to it. Like I put in this. There's the EQ, and then the preamp is over here, that one, and we plugged it in all on one power supply. It was a 12-volt power supply, and these things are rated at 5 or 12 volts, and I thought, oh, they're all the same. They just write that. Well, no, they're not. The adapter that I had was 12 volts. It said 12 on it. And on the auction, this preamp, it said this thing will run between 5 and 24 volts. So I'm like, well, if this is 5 to 12 volts, whatever I plug in, this thing will work. And it didn't work. So I took a closer look at the circuit. In between these 2 capacitors, there's this black guy here. That component, that's a 7812 voltage regulator, and it needs 14 volts to put out 12. So you could throw 36 volts through this, and all the circuit's going to see is 12. But if you drop below 14, the voltage regulator won't put anything out. It needs a surplus of 2 volts over its current rating, or voltage rating, to function. So there's that 2 volt deficit. So I grabbed a 12 volt adapter that I thought it would be a little hot because it was an older one. Usually the older adapters, if they say 12, they'll be like 14. And I was frustrated, and I didn't test it with my meter, and it was putting out 16.2 volts, and it fried the MP3 decoder. Now, the bad thing about that is I was telling you we have this custom wiring. That's really, it's the hardest soldering that I do. You have to come in at an angle on these switch points in here. I don't know if you can see all that wire, that mess in there. You got to come in at an angle, and like I'll rub flux on it, and I'll have this micro solder, and ding, I put a little tiny bit on there, and then I got these wires. They're like about as thin as a hair, and you're trying to get them on there. It's like there's 6 of them, and you hold your breath and you do it, and you get one, and then you're like, praise the Lord, and you do a dance, you take a drink, wipe the sweat off your forehead, and then you go in and you go to do 2. And an hour later, you got all 6 done. So we cut in another one of these, and it was the Bluetooth one, and it was making noise. The remote didn't work, didn't pass the... So this whole thing has just been an unbelievable hassle. What we're doing, we upgraded to these units. These units are great, but you got to cut a really weird shape out of the plastic. The shape of this that you see of this board here, it's a really weird shape. And then there's tabs in each corner where the holes for the fasteners go. So this one, you can take it apart and access the points for the switching, the play, pause, rewind. these 3 buttons here, which they're tactile. I like the feel on this, and there's an EQ button, so you don't need the remote. These are $5, and they're a little louder too. So I really like these. We're switching over to these, and like I cut up a USB cable, which is all ready to go, and I did. There was a common on these 3. There was one common connection out of the 6. 3 of them were the same thing. So I soldered a black wire to that. The red wire is play. Rewind is white, and fast forward is green. And that's good. That's where these MIDI jacks are coming into play. The MIDI jack is getting connected, and now I can't find them. That's the whole reason why we did the video, and they're gone. So yeah, the MIDI jack will go in the back here, and then on the foot switch, which is 3, it's like a bread pan turned upside down with a board cut for a bass. So there'll be 3 like soft click, like they don't even click, they're soft touch, but they're pedal switches. So rather than have the old way, which was, I've been running this switch for years, and there's 2 little cables that like headphone style cables, 2 of them go into the foot switch. And the one kind of got bent, and it doesn't work so hot. You got to jiggle it, and then it'll be okay. So forget that. We're going with these MIDI jacks, which have they have 5, 6 counting the ground. I don't think these are really MIDI, because I know that the real MIDI ones don't have that ground connection. These are 5-pin DIN connectors, is what they are. So that's why I bought them, and here they are. I found them again. So that's the story behind this. I think what I'm going to do is, you see, when you have one power supply running multiple audio circuits, the chance that your noise issues skyrockets with every circuit you add. So I think what I'm going to do is, I really like having the front panel volume. This unit, it has the EQ built in on it, so I might just omit this NJM BBE and save it for another day, for whatever. And then we have those pluggy thumb drives. They're 4 gig ones that I ordered, which is way more than I need. But we have those little small guys, and we're going to be switching over to those for our remote, like the mixer unit that we have that has this MP3 board, which that's an old Music Speakers one. Again, like, I don't really have room on the front panel for something that high, unless we ran an external one. Now, I did build this external. It's a bread pan with the 3 foot switches, and it's got one of these in the middle of it. And I don't think I put any audio accoutrement in there. Oh no, it's got the EQ, the NJM BBE. It just doesn't have the preamp. So that one has an internal battery pack. That's the only weird thing about that. You got to take the 4 chassis screws out and pop batteries in. But I thought, you know what? I'm always changing these batteries. Let's run them till give it a month. Does it last a month of use? Because I think it will. I really think it will. I mean, you think, how long would an MP3 player last on 2 AA batteries? Well, these are 3 of this size battery, and I bet you it would run for 6 months, 4 to 6 months. So we got to see about all that, but I'm in the process of upgrading to these things and better memory cards, and also using this MIDI connector for in here. I don't think I'll be doing any of that for outdoors. Like, really, on the outdoor one, I have a single foot switch for play and pause, and I go off the front panel for rewind and fast forward. So it is what it is. I found a deal on a looper pedal with a built-in drum machine. So that's something I've wanted to try forever, and it wasn't a real lot of money. It was a really good deal, and I'm sure that it'll be fun. It'll probably be a gimmicky thing. I don't know how much we'll use it, but it was something I always really wanted to try. That I could put down some rhythm tracks, rhythm guitar, and then switch over to a lead patch and do some reverse guitar is what I really want to do. So that should be a horrible mess. Stay tuned. I've been unbelievably busy here, and I'm gonna crash and burn. Like I've made this video 3 times because I tried to get it down from being so long, and I had a stomach thing, and I got up to use the restroom, and I stubbed my toe and stepped on a cat turd. There was Keita had a dingleberry, so I stubbed the living bejesus out of my toes on the pedal board, which is made out of like particle board, so it was not a good. It's like my toe was messed up, and then I went into the bathroom to take care of my stomach thing, all sweaty and like because my toe, and I looked down and there was a turd right on my foot. So sometimes life has a way of letting you know. It's nature's way of telling you. All right, you guys, take care of yourselves. Sorry I ran the air conditioner. I did 2 other takes on this. How long were we? Oh my God. It's 16 minutes. The last version was 17, so yeah, I'm going to let you go. I tried.